You can slap carbon fiber all over your bike. You can get a custom exhaust, tune it, polish it, till it gleams like a trophy. But if you're quietly killing your engine from the inside, none of that matters. You're riding a ticking time bomb with pretty fairings. So, if you love your engine, if you want it to last beyond 10,000 miles without sounding like a blender full of screws, keep watching. Here are the worst things you can do to your engine, and how to stop doing them before it's too late. Number 1. Lugging the engine at low RPMs. I know it feels like you're being smooth when you roll around town in 5th gear at 25 miles an hour, but what you're really doing is asking your engine to move a mountain with a toothpick. Lugging, running the engine way below its torque curve, is one of the sneakiest ways to destroy your bottom end. You're loading the crankshaft, the connecting rods, and the main bearings with way more force than they're designed to handle at those speeds. You can even hear it if you listen close. This sort of grumbly, unhappy thump coming from the engine. It's not a healthy, low-end torque sound. It's mechanical protest. It's the engine saying, "Downshift, dummy!" Especially on big twins or cruisers where riders think low revs equals long life. Nope. Torque curve exists for a reason. If your motor's happiest at 3,500 and you're cruising at 1,900, you're not saving it, you're torturing it. Ride in the right gear for your speed, and your engine will thank you with smoother performance, less heat, and a much longer life. Number 2. Redlining a cold engine. Here's the thing about cold engines. They're not ready. I don't care how late you are or how good your bike sounds when you fire it up in the morning. Revving it to the moon when it's cold is mechanical abuse, plain and simple. When your engine is cold, the oil is thick and sluggish. It hasn't circulated fully, it hasn't coated all the critical components, and the metal parts haven't expanded to their normal tolerances. What you've got is a bunch of tight, dry, cold pieces smashing into each other at high speed. Every rev near redline is like a sledgehammer to your cylinder walls and cam lobes. And it's not just wear. It's accelerated wear. You're inviting scoring, premature bearing fatigue, and even valve damage. A lot of sport bikes and rev-happy motors are especially vulnerable here because they tempt you with that quick response, even when they're shivering. You want your engine to last? Let it idle gently for a minute or two, then ease it into motion. Ride gently for the first 5 to 10 minutes. No heavy throttle, no high RPMs. Once the oil's warm and flowing like it should, then you can let it breathe. But redlining it right after cold start, that's not just bad. It's stupid. Even a Ferrari wouldn't survive that daily. Number 3. Ignoring valve clearance interval. Valve clearances are like dental checkups. Boring, easy to put off, and absolutely critical if you want to avoid a painful, expensive disaster later on. And, just like your teeth, by the time something feels wrong, it's already too late. On most motorcycles, valve clearances tighten over time. You don't notice it until one day the engine starts idling rough, becomes hard to start, or worse, burns a valve. At that point, you're no longer doing a quick adjustment. You're looking at a top-end rebuild or a fat repair bill if you're not doing the work yourself. Now, here's the kicker. Engines don't always give you a warning. A valve that's too tight doesn't necessarily tick or make noise. In fact, a silent top end can be more dangerous than a noisy one. Tight clearances mean the valve doesn't close fully, which means hot combustion gases start torching the valve seat. You won't hear it, but it's melting. A lot of modern bikes stretch their valve check intervals to 15,000, even 25,000 miles. So people assume it's not important. But especially if you ride hard or if your bike is older, checking valve clearances regularly is cheap insurance. It's one of the few preventative tasks that can literally save your engine's life. Number 4. Using the wrong oil, especially additive-rich car oils. You'd be surprised how many riders think oil is just oil. As long as it's slippery and says 10W40, it should be fine, right? Wrong. That assumption is like thinking you can use shampoo to clean your carburetor. Sure, it's liquid, but it ain't made for that. The biggest sin here is using car oil in a motorcycle engine with a wet clutch. A lot of modern car oils are loaded with friction modifiers, great for fuel economy in a Prius, but death for your clutch plates. You'll either start slipping under load or the plates will glaze over entirely. Say goodbye to proper power transfer. But it's not just the clutch. Motorcycle engines often run at higher RPMs, have shared oil between the engine and transmission, and operate in tighter tolerances. That means they need oil that resists shear and heat way better than your typical car oil. Use the wrong stuff and you'll start wearing out cam lobes, bearings, and piston rings faster than you can say ZDDP. Even motorcycle oil sold at gas stations or department stores isn't always legit. Some of it breaks down quickly under heat and pressure. If you're saving $10 on oil but shaving years off your engine, that's not a deal. It's a death sentence. Stick to oil that meets your bike's exact spec, preferably from a reputable motorcycle brand. You're not feeding a lawnmower here. Number 5. Letting it sit with old fuel and oil. This one's sneaky. You'll think, I'll winterize it later, or it'll be fine for a couple of months. Next thing you know, it's been 6 months and that sweet machine you love has turned into a science experiment under the cover. Old fuel is nasty stuff. Modern gas has ethanol, and ethanol attracts moisture. Let that sit in your tank lines and injectors or carbs, you're looking at corrosion, varnish, and clogged jets. It goes from flammable to foul real quick. And the oil, that's worse. Used oil doesn't just lose viscosity, it turns acidic. It's like leaving battery acid soaking on your internal engine parts for months. The acid eats away at the seals, metal surfaces, and bearings while you sleep easy thinking your bike's just resting. A lot of riders think they'll just change the oil after storage. That's like brushing your teeth after 6 months of eating candy with no dental care. Too late, damage is done. The fix? If you're putting the bike away, change the oil before, not after. Fill it with fresh gas or drain the tank. Add a fuel stabilizer if it's staying full. And don't skip startup routines if you're taking a long break. Get that engine hot once in a while, or you'll regret it when the spring ride turns into a rebuild. Number 6. Over-oiling or under-oiling the filter. Here's a mistake that even experienced riders make, especially those who wrench on their bikes themselves. If you're running an oiled foam or fabric air filter and think, more oil is better, you're not just wrong. You're slowly strangling your engine. Too much oil clogs the filter media and restricts airflow. Your engine becomes a suffocating beast, wheezing like it's got asthma. That can mess up your fuel-air mixture, foul your spark plugs, and rob you of power. Worse, the excess oil can get sucked into the intake, gumming up your throttle bodies or coating your mass airflow sensors, depending on your setup. Now flip it. Too little oil on the filter? You've just turned your intake into a welcome mat for dirt. Dust and microscopic grit bypass the filter, get sucked into your combustion chamber, and sandblast your cylinder walls, valves, and rings. It's death by 1,000 particles. And don't even think about oil and paper filters. They're dry for a reason. Oil one of those, and you're basically plugging your bike's nose. The fix? Follow the damn instructions. Use just enough filter oil to coat evenly, usually a light mist or a squeeze from a bottle, then massage it in with gloves. Let it tack up before reinstalling. A properly oiled filter breathes well and protects like a champ. Anything else? You're either choking your engine or feeding it dirt. Number 7. Poor throttle roll-on habits. Whacking open the throttle like you're trying to slap the fuel into the engine isn't just ugly, it's harmful. Especially if you're rolling on the gas hard from low RPM, under load, or mid-turn. That kind of throttle behavior sends shock waves through your drivetrain and engine internals like a sledgehammer to a wristwatch. What actually happens is detonation. Not the kind that blows up your engine in one glorious fireball, but the sneaky kind. When you demand a big gulp of air fuel from a lazy engine speed, the mixture can ignite unevenly or too early. That uneven pressure pounds the piston crowns and rings, scrapes against cylinder walls, and messes with crank balance. Over time, this creates hot spots, microfractures, and damage to bearings, valve seats, and more. Some folks think throttle control is just about smoothness or comfort. Nope. It's an engine-preserving skill. Proper roll-on means easing into the power, letting the engine catch up to your demand, and staying within its torque curve. You want to load it like you're gradually stepping onto a diving board, not jumping onto it with both feet and hoping it doesn't snap. Sport bike riders with twitchy throttles are especially guilty of this, but cruisers and commuters aren't innocent either. If your wrist is an on-off switch, you're punishing your engine every ride. The fix? Practice throttle roll-on like it's a fine art. Be gentle, consistent, and aware of your RPM range. Your engine and your tires will thank you for it. Number 8. Riding too long with dirty air filters. Here's something riders ignore all the time. Air filters. That little rectangular cone is the only thing standing between your engine and the endless storm of road dust, bugs, sand, and grit trying to chew it alive. And yet, people will ride for months, sometimes years, without checking or changing it. When your air filter is dirty, your engine starts sucking harder. Literally. That increased vacuum stresses the intake system and can even deform rubber boots or seals. Worse, once it's clogged beyond a certain point, air starts finding its own way around it. And if there's a leak in the housing or a torn gasket, boom! Your engine is now a vacuum cleaner for gravel. Unfiltered air in the combustion chamber is pure destruction. We're talking scuffed cylinder walls, ruined piston rings, and metal shavings in your oil. It won't explode right away, but over time, it's like sandpaper inside your motor. That's why desert racers clean their filter every single ride. And no, it's not just about horsepower. A dirty filter won't just kill your top-end pull, it'll shorten your engine's lifespan drastically. If your throttle response is dull, your fuel economy is off, or you're smelling something musty when starting, check your filter. It might be a biohazard in there. Even lifetime filters need cleaning and re-oiling properly. Paper filters, just replace them. It's a $20 part standing guard over a $5,000 engine. Don't make it do overtime. Number 9. Revving on the kickstand without load. I get it. You just installed a new exhaust, or maybe you're showing off to your buddy in the driveway. So you fire up the bike and give it a few loud revs while it's idling in neutral. Feels harmless, right? It's not. It's dumb, and it's slowly killing your engine. Here's the thing. Motorcycle engines are designed to be under load when they rev. That means the rear wheel is engaged, the flywheel is stabilizing things, and the whole system's working together. When you twist the throttle in neutral, all that load disappears. The crankshaft spins up faster than it should, the revs climb unnaturally quick, and the harmonics get weird, especially in high-revving inline 4s or tuned twins. Without resistance, the vibrations that normally cancel each other out now hit the crank, bearings, and valve train full force. You get more torsional stress, more uneven wear, and sometimes even microfractures on older parts. Ever wonder why sport bike cranks occasionally snap at the journals after years of abuse? This is part of that story. It's also hell on your valves. At high RPMs without load, the timing gets very sloppy. Valve float becomes a risk, and in extreme cases, you can kiss your valve seals or even your guides goodbye. And don't forget the ECU. Revving in neutral can mess with idle fuel maps, confuse auto-tune systems, and spike your temp sensors, especially on newer bikes. You're making a lot of heat, but with no airflow over the radiator or engine. That's a recipe for hot spots and warped components. So yeah, revving your engine while parked might sound cool, but do it enough and one day your bike's gonna sound a lot different, and not in a good way. Number 10. Poor cooling habits in stop-and-go traffic. You'd think city riding would be easy on your engine. Low speeds, short distances, no red line in sight. But in reality, this is when your motor gets cooked alive. See, your cooling system, whether it's air-cooled or liquid-cooled, depends on movement. Ride at a decent clip and airflow keeps things under control. But sit too long in traffic on a hot day and you're basically slow roasting your engine. Air-cooled bikes are the worst off. Without motion, they're just hot metal baking in the sun. Even liquid-cooled engines suffer, especially when the radiator fan can't keep up. The oil starts to break down, turning into sludge. The cylinder head gets heat-soaked. Gaskets swell. Your once smooth idle gets lumpy. And if you're not watching your temp gauge, you might not even realize it's happening. Many riders don't realize that modern fuel-injected engines will start running rich to compensate for heat, dumping extra fuel to cool things down at the cost of fouled plugs, carbon buildup, and wasted mileage. If you're stuck in traffic often, learn to kill the engine at long lights. Park in the shade. Don't idle just to cool down. And don't trust your fan to do all the work. It's a cooling system, not a miracle. Number 11. Running on bad or cheap fuel. You might think gas is gas. As long as the bike runs, what's the big deal, right? Wrong. Bad fuel is one of the sneakiest long-term killers of modern motorcycle engines, especially in performance-oriented bikes with high compression ratios or sensitive fuel mapping. Use low-octane gas in a bike that calls for premium, and you're basically inviting detonation. That's when the air-fuel mix ignites prematurely, creating uneven shock waves that hammer the piston instead of pushing it. Over time, that rattle causes cracked ringlands, scorched valves, and burned plugs. You won't hear it most of the time, but your engine feels every hit. Ethanol's another silent killer. That cheap E10 stuff at the pump, it absorbs moisture like a sponge. Leave it sitting and you'll get water in your tank, corrosion in your fuel system, and gummy residue in your injectors or carbs. Ethanol also leans out the mixture, raising combustion temps and creating more heat stress. And if you're riding something older, with steel tanks or carburetors, the damage happens even faster. And no, adding an occasional bottle of fuel system cleaner won't fix years of abuse. Use quality fuel. Stick to the octane your manual recommends, or higher if you're pushing the bike hard. Don't cheap out where it counts the most. Number 12. Overfilling or underfilling the oil. Oil level isn't just some number in a book. It's the lifeblood gauge of your engine. And whether you're riding with too much or too little, you're setting your engine up for a slow and painful death. Start with overfilling. You might think a little extra oil is better safe than sorry. But what actually happens is the crankshaft starts slapping into the excess oil as it spins. That churns the oil into a frothy foam, like a blender. And guess what? Foam doesn't lubricate. It also builds up pressure in the crankcase, which can blow out gaskets, seals, or even the airbox through the breather hose. I've seen guys with oil literally dripping out of their air filters because of this. Now, go the other way. Underfill it, and you're starving the top end. First to suffer, the camshafts. Then the piston rings, then the bearings. Without enough oil circulating, your engine parts are dry humping themselves into oblivion, and it won't always throw a warning light until it's already done the damage. Some bikes need to be upright to check the level. Others need the engine to be warm. Don't eyeball it. Read the manual. Check it properly, and keep it exactly where it needs to be. Not above, not below. Perfect. If you love your bike, stop abusing its heart. The engine isn't some indestructible lump of metal. It's a finely tuned orchestra of explosions, friction, pressure, and precision. And the sad truth is, most riders ruin their engines not by riding too hard, but by being careless, lazy, or just plain misinformed. Treat your engine like it matters, because it does. And now it's your turn. What's the worst engine-killing habit you've ever seen another rider do? Or maybe you did one yourself before you knew better. Drop it in the comments. I'm sure we've all got some horror stories to share. And hey, if you made it this far, maybe consider subscribing. Your engine will thank you.